Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, the South Sudan Defense Forces honor hundreds of veterans from 1955 to 1983 on the occasion of the 64th anniversary of the Anyanya insurrection. What is the significance of the Veterans Award ceremony? And is it a good idea for fixing South Sudan? And with us in the program is Lieutenant General Johnson Juma Okot, the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, SSPDF. We are elated to welcome him back to Fixing South Sudan in the Eagle House, Bill Farm General Headquarters. Our pleasure to welcome him once more to this program.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you in the program.
Thank you.
So we are talking about the 64th anniversary of the Anyanya uprising, and the Anyanya contributed a lot, and you are recognizing that at the SSPDF General Headquarters, there is continuity between what the Anyanya did and then what later on became the SPLM, for which you are a veteran of that war. What can you say about this occasion that is happening on Thursday? Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Madingor. Thank you for Fixing South Sudan. It's a pleasure. We had always been admiring your media program that has been honestly updating professionalism that temporary technology is all what about.
Thank you.
As you mentioned, I'm Lieutenant General J.J. Okot. I like the abbreviation. And I'm currently the Deputy Chief of Defense Force of the SSPDF. Yes, I am privileged that I'm becoming part of the history of a struggle, a history of a liberation in the country that most now need peace. I'm born in 1958, and you can see I was born in an era of the first birth of the struggle of our parents in the effort of getting our freedom, our independence. And I rarely had the opportunity to grow inside here. We got displaced by the war to Uganda, where most of us went and got part of our education there. And of course, Anyanya was mainly fought almost in all parts of South Sudan. But it's important to understand I come from Eastern Equatorial State. And Eastern Equatorial State, especially
the defunct Eastern Equatorial State.
The defunct Eastern Equatorial State, which of course by history is still important for us to take our genesis back there. And this were the uprising, people call it mutiny. You can define it in your own terms, the uprising of 1955. when I was barely, I think, 3 years, and was only told a lot of stories about the onset of the liberation uprising of Anyanya in Torit. And of course, one thing which is also important is that many those who contributed for the onset of the uprising, among them was an elderly man from my own village, Greta Magui. This person called Santurnino Holire. Santurnino Holire comes from a very populated area of Acholi, particularly from Obo. This is the guy who was, I think, a Siginola, and the guy who shot the arrow. You can see the landmark of the arrows that is being played all over, was ignited by him. And he should be one of the people that should be remembered time and again to have actually time bomb the onset of the Anyanya 1 uprising. So based on that, the Anyanya struggle, and of course they were not able to finish up what the people of the Republic of South Sudan today wanted. They fought under General Lagu, and when the war intensified, many parts of South Sudan joined. People from Upper Nile, from Barghazal joined, and the Anyanya 1 became very popular under General Lagu.
On the 64th anniversary, we remember the contributions of the Anyanya. And what would you say is the contribution to the Anyanya to South Sudan?
It's partly when you are not conscious of your rights, then you can continue to be robbed. The contribution was that there was an onset of the mindset of our people who thought it was necessary to wage a struggle when getting the freedom and independence of the Republic of South Sudan was robbed from them. By then, the colonials and the Agreement 47, which you should be aware. And the contribution is that they were able to remind the people of the South that the struggle must continue. This is one contribution. And the second contribution was to mobilize again the unity of the people of the South to struggle for their freedom. So Anyanya 1 was significant, but because of international political pressure, which we are made to understand, they ended up negotiating the Addis Ababa Agreement. And when the Addis Ababa Agreement was signed, that was not all the expectation our people thought was the end of the struggle. The regime then in Khartoum, of course, did not honor the implementation of the peace agreement. And this subsequently contributed to then the continuation of other groups, like in Barghazal, there was now Anyanya 2, and partly also in Upper Nile, there was already that uprising in the protest that what they expected was not complete. So this is a significant contribution, whereby slowly it grew up and then contributed to the formation of now
You can say
SPLA.
that the Anyanya 1 led to Anyanya 2
Oh, yes.
and led to the SPLA.
So by
What is the continuity?
Yeah, by 1983, I'm happy. As I told you, 1958 I was just born, and 55 was the uprising. But when I got myself with the history from my parents, from our communities, that the war was not over, in 1983-84, some of us were youths, but we were already working in Juba. So we decided to join the struggle. When me Aruba, Mio Khamsa in Bor, shot the bullet of another struggle. So some of us joined. And my best colleague, as I said earlier, was the late hero, Major General Paul Malith. He was our mobilizer here inside Juba. My Vice President, James Wane, was here. Most of us were here. We mobilized ourselves. We neglected the political situation that was circulated around, that there was Kokora, and then if you join the movement, you would be victimized, you would fall victim. We'd ignore that because we knew when the Anyanya 1 started, many other people from other regions came.
What inspired you to join?
What
were the
inspired me to
reasons?
join was that unfinished total liberation of the people of the Republic of South Sudan was not complete because we went back to the same scenario. The regime in Khartoum continued to rule the South, and we continue to be marginalized, we continue to be discriminated. We were not free in our own country. And we were encouraged by our parents that, yes, we fought this war, we were deceived. We went up and ended up an agreement which did not provide us the benefits. So you, the young ones, must pick up. So we joined 83, 84, we then joined. We went to Bor, we were well received. We went to Ethiopia, Itang, and from Itang to Bonga. The late Dr. John was there with our current president and some members of the high political command. We were interviewed. Some of us, we went and joined cadet. I personally joined Shield 2. There was already first batch that ended training. We were then Shield 2. And we had our best training in Ethiopia.
We are having this conversation because there is an event that is happening in Bilfan to honor veterans like yourself, going back to 1955 and up to 1983, and possibly even beyond. What is the significance of such kind of event?
You know, this one thing I want to say. When we came here in 2005, we looked into all the history and genesis of liberation, the struggle, the political struggle. We did not find anything significant to indicate that the people of the South began struggling as early as 1955, okay? But as we talk now, Comrade Madingor, you can see this document. You can see this document. When you open this document, you begin to see these are veterans. They are heroes and veterans. You know, the simple definition of a hero is either you have contributed your ultimate price, like many of our colleagues, or you manage to survive an operation, a war that we never expected you will survive. And then people call you a hero. So these veterans here are heroes. And they are also veterans because they survived all the war in Anyanya 1. They became heroes, and now they are veterans. Some of us at the moment, we are partly heroes and veterans because we participate in a lot of operational war, but we are still living.
When you do...
So to complete your question is that it is significant that this time we are now a government of our own, a country of our own. We have now begun to put records. We have now the Minister of Veteran Affairs, the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs. Specifically, the Veterans Veterans Department is now established.
Give us the categories of the people being awarded and how do you make that determination?
Yeah, before I go to that, I want to complete this. We have now the Veteran Department, which is run under Secretary. We have the Pension Department, which is also headed by Undersecretary, and we have another Undersecretary in the Ministry of Defense. Now, these departments by history are very significant to show to ourselves that we mind and we want to congratulate the people who contributed their own lives and has become veterans. And we are going to celebrate this significantly because of the ultimate contribution they did. And of course, the SPLA got formed, and we fought a war of total sacrifice. And this is where we are today. We are free. We are in a free country. We have a free passport. We have free identity. We now have our own country. This is the significant contribution of all our veterans who might have contributed by the means of guns, but there are also those contributed by contributing resources in terms of food, in terms of human resources. Our churches, they contributed through their prayers. You know, even in the Bible, you understand the role of Cornelius, who was a soldier in the internal Italian regiment. But he was a disciple, but he was a fighter.
It took a lot for South Sudan to be independent. It's
So,
not one single achievement.
Yes, so we have people who are in the denominations of our churches, we have people who are in the army, people like us. We are Cornelius because we decided to take arms and we tell God, this is our right, we want our freedom.
With every recognition, there is controversy and even commotion because there are always those who are left out. So can you talk about the honorees?
No, the honoree is justified. The question of that...
Who are they and what categories?
Yeah, there are many categories. The categories as of tomorrow's celebration, we are beginning to look from the personalities or eminent people like His Excellency, Big Brother, Uncle Abel Alier, who was a very high person in the government here. He was the president of the Vice President of Sudan by that time, and he became the president of the High Command Council in South Sudan.
High Executive
High Executive Council. People like Joseph Lagu, these are very highly profile veterans of the foundation of the struggle. And this is where the whole celebrations are meaningful, begins from there. Then you come to the Taurid, which you have just talked about, the Taurid uprising. And then you come to the level where we are. And then it is one thing that you can understand that the celebration is very significant, very important for the people of this country.
And you are including others who have made prominent contributions.
The other question you say was...
not necessarily through the armed forces.
There are people who are complaining, but I think for us, we feel that...
Why are they complaining?
They feel that they should have been immediately put on the list. There may be some oversight. And in a situation like in this country where we came, we are trying to reform our system. Even with us in the army, we are still trying to reform our system. We are trying to collect data. This is the first time data like this, we can get it in the Republic of South Sudan. I showed you, the commemoration of Veterans Day, August 18, 2019. Now, this is going to go to history, and many books will be written. You can never go back in the history of this country where you can get a list of veterans, list of fallen heroes. But now we have thousands of them, and we are taking care of them. So those who are complaining, it is their right, and it has been made very clear that anybody who feels that he or she has been left over, the offices here are very open. They come and put up their complaints, and they will still get into the role of awarding.
It's a continuous process.
It started with our president, the principal, the father of the nation, the icon of liberation, and he made it very clear when he was awarded the ribbons, medals and ribbons. He said it will go down the line to even our soldiers, our civil population, people who contributed in one way or the other, and it is now happening. It started with him, then he came to the former political high command, and he came to us, the officers in the command, and it went down. Now tomorrow we are going to get these awards again being given to various categories, the police, the wildlife, the prison, and those who are in the army, in the category of veterans. This is going to go down to the list of anybody whom we feel deserves to be honored, must be honored.
We are starting with several hundreds, and next time you are going to go down the list to the end.
It will go more than that because the population that contributed for the freedom of this country, Madingor, it has no shortcut for us to say it will be this number that will be awarded. But strictly, we are privileged to have committees. We have a permanent secretariat, young men and women who are doing their work night and days. We are getting all information. We continue to scrutinize them. And whatever information that are valuable for us, we'll continue to list them. So the number will continue. As much as we have a country now of our own, and hopefully by the time the peace, permanent peace is achieved in this country, there are people who might have not got the access to come out and say, I am also one of them. That time will come. So you will continue to have a situation where continuity of identifying people who contributed for this celebration, who deserve awards, will continue to be given awards. These are prerogatives of the government. It will not be a shortcut.
And at this juncture, we are talking about those who are alive. what about the dead heroes?
Well,
Can you do posthumous awards?
well, I don't want to rush to that because some of these are principle of legal institutions of the defense and the country. But as of now, what we know is we have up-to-date list of our fallen heroes. To those who originated from 1983 to 2005. You now need to understand from 2005 now, we have what we call Ashar al-Ayat, the 10 states. Now, these 10 states mainly covers people who lost their lives during the struggle, and their next kin, their families, are pursuing their benefits from that onset until when our pension bill is enacted, where now people will be rewarded their pension. Pension is a contribution from your own salaries and also government. And we have these detailed groups that we honor them. Even our fallen heroes, we honor them. And that's why the celebration time and again, Martyrs' Day, we honor them. Veterans' Day, we honor them. Everybody is being honored because we contributed for this freedom. And
don't you think for the families of those who are left behind, who have basically left nothing tangible behind, it is important that they show that my father or my mother or my brother or sister contributed, and this is the evidence? Or are you saying down the road is something you will look into?
In many countries that fought liberation, we are not exceptional. You can go to Uganda, you can go to Rwanda, you can go to Kenya, the Mau Mau, you can count them. Those who gave their lives during the struggle, they are recognized. And government has certain prerogatives to identify from which period to which period those people who gave their lives deserve to be rewarded. Then they are rewarded either by honoring them, putting their names, putting very clear record and history.
Naming places.
That can be one contribution. There are those that might have given their lives when the struggle was almost getting to an end. Like now, in our case, we have the Ashar al-Ayat. They are also being provided those benefits. For our families, the families of our fallen heroes who don't fall within this category, and that's why we emphasize the issue of freedom. We emphasize the issue of peace. Because if there is peace and this country is peaceful, then the children of our fallen heroes will have all the benefits because there are going to be scholarships, there are going to be opportunities. They are not getting these opportunities because from 2005 up to this level, we have not been stable. There has been continuous instability in the country. And this one also not only affect the people who lost their dear ones in the liberation, even our families, to some of us who are still living, even our families are not stable.
Total peace would be a reward.
It would be a reward to all our fallen heroes' families because they will be very free in their country. And honestly, by the way, now the education system in South Sudan at the moment is encouraging some freedom of education. Now, if we can enhance peace and then the education system is highly built, the institutions are highly strengthened, our infrastructures are very highly strengthened, then there even would be no need for us to send our children across because for the last 33 years, we have not been together with the families, the children. These children would be enjoying their country here and get the benefit of the opportunities of schools. And we need to empower our school system because these are the future leaders. So we agree that there is that complaint, but this is the nature of a liberation all over the world. It is not very exceptional with the Republic of South Sudan, that the category of people who fought the liberation are not able to get the rewards in terms of monetary rewards, in terms of other rewards that maybe can be physically given.
It is a symbolism.
Yeah, symbolism.
So and another thought on this is the fact that there seems to be a bias towards the commander. And of course, yesterday, foot soldiers are today's generals and commanders, but they're still foot soldiers who fought gallantly during the war, and yet they are not recognized. It seems like those who are getting the medals and the ribbons are not the ordinary soldiers. Is that something you're going to correct?
I think for me the history is very clear. Almost everybody who got the medals, the ribbons, are people who have very distinct records. They have no records that can implicate their background, and I think they've been well scrutinized. What I want to tell you, Madingor, is that the peace that we are trying to contribute permanently to help the situation in the Republic of South Sudan has to take into a lot of consensus of giving. It has been an expensive one, buying peace. Because with the instability, the confusion in this country, many people took law into their own hands, and they became very rebellious. There's no country that you want to set a democracy, you use the means of guns. So most of those colleagues who have gone and came with various ranks, and those foot soldiers who are still there, it's a sacrifice. But are we all going to remain in the army? Indian army was 2 million, and today an Indian army is the best in the world, because after peace was achieved, everybody was rewarded.
Can you make an admission that indeed there is an error? Indeed, it seems that those who are getting honored are really the generals, but what you have been trying to say is that when there's peace and stability, the general welfare is advanced, and that is the only way you can do justice.
But so far, those who have been awarded medals, we have no wrong record that there are people who might have got their way into the medals. No. As I talk to you now, the records are very clear. These are liberators. Their characters, their background, their details are known. These are not people who had just been brought from the market and then given those medals. I think I don't have that record as much as I know. But what I know is those who deserve to get medals from the ranks that started from us down, I mentioned this, that these rewards will get to them. This reward will get to them one day as the process continues. We have not messed up bringing people who don't deserve and then they're awarded medals and ribbons. I think we don't have that record as of now. I'm very, very, very sure.
The other point I would like to mention is the fact that veterans are dying in large numbers, those who have contributed immensely, like yourself. Recently, we lost Lieutenant General Anthony Bolmadut. We lost Deng Panan. We lost General Atima Agwang. We lost countless number of people. And with them, the history is fading away. What is the best way of recording this history that was done collectively from Anyanya all the way to the SPLS?
The history will never go away. The God has taken their lives, but the country is free. And nobody will come and take this country back where we got this country for. This is gone into records, and of course in every liberation, people who contribute their lives are well recorded in the government facilities like what we are doing now and in our families. They are not as such forgotten because they're already, God has called them upon himself. No, there are numbers of sacrifices that this country gave. The few names you gave is the current one. And there are still going to be more because this is how we are created.
These are a few who died recently, and the point I'm trying to underscore, and which has been mentioned, is that we seem to honor these heroes when they die, but we don't take care of the veterans.
Well,
they are alive.
Well, these are issues to deal with our current situation in the country. Some of them are political issues, and when you want to break them, you can define them in your own ways. Some of the problems are economics. Some of the problems are social. Combining all this, there can be some oversight when it comes to providing services to people who deserve. You also need to understand we are Africans. In our own way, when your terms of service comes where you are working, like most of these colleagues who failed, they failed within the time of their services in the system. And as I said, at the moment, there are no those rewards in terms of pension that had been put in place. But all our fallen heroes, they continue to get whatever those small resources, the small reward, they continue to be given those as a recognition of the right that they deserve. Because as I talk to you now, you know how many of our wounded heroes have been moving on these streets here. They want to go for further treatment. They cannot go for further treatment. At the moment, you know how many months our army have not got the service.
So you blame the situation?
I really blame the situation, not the administration.
You're conscious about it?
Yeah, very conscious about it. Everybody knows that, like the blame on the reform. You know, from 2005, there has been a small environment where the army had the peaceful environment for them to look into the reform of their army. Every time we have to run into rebellion situation. Every time we have to make sure that we defend the country, make sure we send our army. The Republic of South Sudan, almost each and every 3 as a soldier running up and down, and we are not able to do that. So you cannot blame an individual, but you can say the political situation of the country did not allow some of those arrangements. And when there are political situation in the country, then definitely you need to understand the economic problems of this country.
General, you are number 2 in the National Army and you happen to be from Equatoria. There is talk of transformation in the SSPDF, and the people of South Sudan, through initiatives like the National Dialogue. Recently we had the Equatoria conference, and they talk about diversifying the army. As someone who is playing an important role in the army, what is your response to such kind of comments? What is the best way of making sure the army is transformed and it looks like South Sudan?
Yeah, I think I quite agree with all the views and the concerns of our great people of the 3 regions. We are in an army constituency. We are not a political constituency. In an army constituency, when there's peace, there's what we call inclusivity. It's not balance, because balance would look like complaint. When the war started in Owenkibulo or in Torit, there are those who came, and those who did not come enjoy the fruits of the few period of the freedom that was brought by the Addis Ababa Agreement. And when in 1983 war started again in Bor, some of us chose and we went. We joined the system, and we were included in the system. As the army constituency, there was no tribalism.
It was a voluntary army.
Voluntary. And some of us were mainly officers. Like if I tell you now, we were 68. And maybe we are left now around 4 or 5. The latest people who might have paid their lives for this freedom are people like Major General Gildo Baranya, Sebit Lopai, Amigo. From 68, we mainly from our own areas, and we are all intellectuals. Now we are only 4 who are left. And when we went there, we didn't meet problems of tribalism. We were commanding other population that went for the war, because it's a war. It is like going for dances. When you go dancing, you don't go with many girls. You go and find girls in those communities. You dance with them. They will not say, where are your girls? It is how you attract them. So when we joined the liberation, it was a choice. And we enjoy the inclusivity of the respect we got from the liberation until we came up now. But now it is very clear. I'm a member of the SDSRB, the mechanism that is looking into an acting policy of inclusivity. And in many countries like Rwanda, we went out there, went to Uganda. Inclusivity is that the population is counted. The census of the population is counted. And then the size of the army is determined by the political authorities.
It will be proportional.
determined by the political authorities. What is the army? Size of the army. When you want to determine the size of the army, you must also be aware of the economic provisions of the country.
And the ethnic quota, they are talking about.
I'm
the
coming
quota
there.
system.
Then you need to consider that. You need to consider certain elements of internal threats. What are internal threats? And what are external threats? And all these diversities contribute in the national security aspect. And this will now determine what army you need for this country. And if we say we want 100,000 soldiers for this country, it would have been dictated upon this scientific approach to the security challenges internally and externally. And then you can now decide what do you want to do with this 100,000 army. And then you go to the data of the census. Like now we have the data of the census. After getting the data of census, the census data will tell you, Madingor, from where you come from. If you come from Jongole State, you will, for example, be given 30,000. Now Jongole State will get down and look into how many counties do you have. And then again, now the counties will go down the Payam.
So that grievance will be addressed.
Then you will have this national dialogue. We are talking about it here. We shall have a security national dialogue at this level, how to distribute the inclusivities of this percentage that will be given. And this one need peace. And this is done, then the inclusivity will be done, then you will have a national army, they will be trained, but definitely the size of your population will contribute to the size of the army.
This point that we are making, that the army in which you are number 2 is an ethnic army, it is a propaganda that is being used even by the renegade general, Thomas Cirillo.
Well, we are saying...
And others from Equatoria, they are talking about it. And you are saying, let's be patient, and patience pays.
I don't want to speak on their behalf because I have my own...
As the army.
I joined the movement in 1984. There are others who joined yesterday. It might be they're even senior than us. But we remain here because we are very loyal. We know we are moving. As I'm saying, that in any liberation, there are always those odds that come in the process of reform. Any wise person in this country would understand that why is the army not reformed? This issue of reforming the army would have happened long time if there was no continuous rebellion, if there was no continuous political power struggle. These issues would have been done. We have an objective force that was planned in 2013 to get all the army to the training center. And then we count the data, we screen them, and then we see in the region how are they represented. But then 2013, the war broke. And therefore, those who found themselves already defending the nation have no good reason to run away because other people have not been brought in, and they continue to contribute. And also significantly, those ethnicities, those smaller tribes that people look at them, also contributed in their own way. For example, the community I come from, there's nobody who can tell me that my people from my community did not contribute. I call them by names, but they were included in the struggle. But now when it comes into reforming the army, so that we represent the geographical representation of the country, now you need inclusivity. And this inclusivity should go across the boundaries, should go across the gender mainstreaming, should go about the condition that will be laid for recruitment, and then the training of the army of the nation. If you are 30 plus in your family, and we are 10 plus your family, there's no reason for me to say my number should be put to number 30 plus. I will be given 10 plus according to my ratio, and you will be given 30 plus according to your ratio. But all of us, when we come into the platform, the army, we will find ourselves speaking one language. In the training center, we will have one common language, one common doctrine. So this complaint of other people are mixed. There are those politicians who are not inside of what the army is all what about. I've been in this war for 30 years. I don't think there's anybody who can tell me here that you go away because the army is tribal. when I joined the movement, we were not recruited by them, and there's nobody who can recruit me to
They
leave.
became your colleagues, they
colleagues.
became your comrades.
We have seen many of them fought and died around us. I am only left with the one space. This idea of saying I should go away and then tomorrow I bring more ranks. I take my people out, they come more rank. It comes with a lot of suffering, a lot of destruction. Why do I waste my time?
Let's end on this note, and it's about peace. And for peace to prevail, for the agreement to kick off, and for the government to be formed in November, we have to have a unified army or some kind of a unified army.
We are working hard.
And so, in summary, succinctly, what would you say is the steps you have taken that should give the people hope that indeed the army has moved on its path?
No, the cantonment is getting finished. And the processes, we just launched the registration forms some 1 or 2 weeks back, and almost all the cantonment, the army from the opposition groups, those who signed the agreement are going there. The screening will start, the training will start. We have also our army in their dispositions. I can even call that they are also cantoned because they didn't contradiction of this language. Who is cantoned and who is in the barracks. These people who are in the barracks are almost like they are cantoned because now they cannot get out, there's no war. So they are more or less cantoned in their barracks. And then the other forces of the opposition are cantoned because those are new areas where they should be temporarily regrouped for temporary regrouping, screening, and then training. And when the training entire the integration is finished, then now they can be brought into one army.
There is progress.
It's going. Progress is going, and I think it's made open. You can see contributions are coming from friends. Food supplies that used to be sometimes an obstacle have already begun coming. You can see tents are already being donated. Our various mechanisms, the JMCC, are moving on with their work. We in the SDSR, we are moving with their work. The JTCC are going with their work. The NTCP are doing their work. So I can see this is a progress that doesn't need overnight people to think that it will be done. So complain.
And what about the part of confidence building within the two opposed armies or previously opposed?
No, I think we in the process of what we are doing, we have already demonstrated a lot of peace building among ourselves. My chief of defense force has been traveling with the acting chief of staff of IO. They've been going to Fagad, going to Nasir. General Gabriel Jokriak had been traveling with CDR. In the same plane, they go and come back. They visit the forces, they go and come back. You know, the war in Bentiu, we were on one side, Kong was on the other side. But now we are traveling together. We are visiting our forces together. That is already, building some confidence among ourselves. First of all, we are one people. And politics is not a permanent thing.
And finally, on the 64th anniversary, is it a good idea for fixing South Sudan, having an event and remembering it?
I think it's going to be a very peculiar day because tomorrow, the categories of people that are going to be awarded is going to be very significant for this country. When you begin with eminent personalities in their life, maybe they have not got this even the time they were the regime, in the old regime. I don't think they had this honor. Now we need to honor them because these are South Sudanese eminent personalities. These are our own people. We need to honor them. And then the series of the historical units, the people who went out like Mia Aruba, Mio Khamsa, and then you count them up to the current. We need to honor the day tomorrow because the categories of awards that will happen tomorrow maybe is very unique and peculiar. So it's a pleasure for the country to be happy. The progress of getting the army cleanup is happening. What we need is those who are not yet interested in coming to join their hands to create an army of this country. When one day come, they have their own opinion, their own views. We don't want to speak on their behalf. They have their own ways of looking at what is happening. We have our own way of how we are looking at the progress, and we are sure one day we will overcome these challenges.
Lieutenant General J.J. Okot, the Deputy Chief of SSPDF. Thanks for coming on Fixing
Thank you
South
very
Sudan.
much.
Have you fixed South Sudan?
I think it is a progress. It's not yet fixed. When we are done, then we'll say it fixed.
Or have you
But for
destroyed South Sudan?
But for you, you already fixed us.
Or
That's why we are doing.
Have you destroyed South Sudan in the name of fixing South Sudan?
No, we have not. I think South Sudan had its own genesis, which is now our
You have
duties.
tried. Can you say you have tried?
It's our duties to continue trying until we get to the end. It will be done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sure.